and welcome to the very first episode of Cosplay and Cosmetology. My name is Zoe. You may know me as a singer, songwriter, musician, and 2015 Daytime Emmy nominee. But I've also been a cosplayer of 12 years, and I'm a licensed cosmetologist. I've been wanting to make a makeup series for a really long time, but I wanted to make sure that I did something that was different. Since I started doing makeup as a performer at a young age, my background predominantly was in stage makeup. And then I got into cosplay, which is a much weirder form of makeup. And then I went to cosmetology school. And then I learned special effects with V. Neal and Kevin Haney. So I have all these different backgrounds and I have learned so much about so many different kinds of makeup. I feel like it's important to discuss all of them so that you can find what works best for you. Makeup is a form of artistry, and everybody's art style is going to be a little bit different. So it's important for you to find the style that works best for you, works with your comfort level, works with your skin. In today's video, we're gonna be going over foundation basics, how to get a flawless base. This is a step that tends to get overlooked even by famous makeup artists online because it's just not seen as the fun step. But if you don't have a good, flawless base to your makeup, it's gonna photograph weird, it's not gonna feel good, it's gonna cause problems for your skin. So it's really important to find a foundation routine that works well for you. Today we're gonna be going over foundation application techniques, color corrections, and color theory so that you can make sure that you get the flawless base that you're after. Back when I was learning how to do makeup, it was pretty much a 3-step process. Foundation, concealer, powder. That was it. But there's so much more now, and people have been coming up with all different uses for all these different products. People don't even use concealer as concealer anymore. They use it for highlighting or for contouring purposes. I still use it for its intended purpose, concealing, but sometimes concealer alone isn't enough. If you've ever dealt with like really dark circles under your eyes or acne scars, or any sort of redness or discoloration of any kind, you may have noticed that when you just use concealer or just use foundation, there's a bit of a gray tone underneath it. And that's because the foundation itself is not color correcting, it's just covering. So you may want to go an extra step and do color corrections underneath your makeup to help make a more flawless finish. But how do color corrections work? Well, first of all, you have to understand color theory. I've drawn up this color wheel, which we're gonna look at for a moment. Now, I've got all the primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. When you look at your face in the mirror when you're not wearing any makeup, it's not all one color. There are so many different tones at play. We're gonna do a quick look at my skin with no makeup on, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. So over here, what we're looking at is some acne scarring, as well as some redness because I've been fighting some allergies this week. Over here, what we have like right here in the corner is actually a shadow from the bone socket. And over here are veins underneath my eye. And then same on this side of the face, some acne scarring, some redness, some veins up here, the shadow here, some veins here. So if I were to just try to dive in with concealer on top of my acne scars, it may turn gray. Or if I go in right over my under eyes, it may create a bit of a cast. So what do? Color correct. This is my favorite color correcting palette, and I wish I could recommend it to you, but it's long discontinued and very expired. So I'm not gonna be putting it on my face. Instead, I'm gonna be showing you color corrections on my arm. These are with alcohol paint, so it's the most skin-like finish I could possibly get to show you exactly what I mean. For this, you're gonna need a basic understanding of color theory, and I love color theory, and I am here to help you through it. I drew up this color wheel. It has all of the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Every color has what's called a complementary color, which is the color on the opposite side of the color wheel. For color corrections, you want to be very familiar with complementary colors. If you're trying to cancel out red/pink, you want to find its complementary color, which is going to be the opposite color on the color wheel. For red and pink, that's green. So if you have red or pink tones in your skin that you want to cancel out, you're going to want to use a green concealer. That's a lot. Holy crap. So what you do is just apply the green right on top of the red. It's going to neutralize it. The goal isn't to make it look like Wicked, but the goal is that it will neutralize the red and turn it into a more neutral tone. And then once you set this with powder, put your foundation over it, you're not going to see the redness. So now let's talk about purple. Again, find purple on the color wheel and find its complementary color. Go directly across the color wheel and you will find yellow. So if you're having purple tones in your skin, you're going to want to find a yellow concealer. Once again, you put the yellow over the purple and it's going to cancel it right out. And it's not gonna be perfect. These are not high coverage concealers and I can't express how expired they are, but you can already see the difference in the color. So now let's talk about blue. Once again, let's go to the color wheel. Find blue, go directly across, and you will find orange. Now, a lot of orange color correctors may be more on the peachy side. This will depend on your skin tone. Darker ones may be more orange. Mine is definitely more of a peach, but you just are gonna go in with that directly over the blue. This is great for veins. This is great for 5 o'clock shadows. You can already see how it's neutralized. All 3 of these colors have been neutralized. So now I'm gonna set those with powder and I'm gonna apply the foundation over it. I'm gonna show you over the non-color corrected side as well, and you're gonna see the difference. This is actually a translucent powder. It looks like it's my skin tone, but it's actually clear. So I'm just gonna go in and set that because otherwise the colors will blend and get very, very muddy. So this is what we're currently working with. As you can see, the side is already much, much lighter, much harder to see. It's not perfect, but we have foundation for that. This foundation is also very, very expired, but it is a high coverage. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on the back of my hand. I'm gonna come up close here. As you can see, the part where I didn't color correct, that blue is really coming through, but the part where I did, you can't even see anymore. Now for the purple. And now for the red. You see that? Every part where I used a color corrector, you can't see it anymore. But every part where I didn't, those colors are coming through. So once again, the blue was all through here, the purple was all through here, and the red was all through here. Now, there was a little bit of pink in this purple, so I probably could have gone in with a little bit of green in there as well. This pink is actually coming through a bit purple because of my undertones. I could have thrown a little yellow in there. Do you see how that blue is perfectly concealed? That's what you're going for. As I clean this off, let's talk about how to use that on our faces. Say you have rosacea or a fresh breakout. That's gonna be more red or pink. That's where you're gonna use your green concealer. Say you have a birthmark, a bruise, old scars. Those are gonna come across a little bit more on the purple side. That's where you're gonna use your yellow concealer. Now, say you have a 5 o'clock shadow, some shadow from your bone structure, maybe bruises, maybe dark circles, anything that's gonna be more on the blue side, veins, for example. That's what you're gonna use your peach or orange concealer for. Now we've got our color corrections all figured out, it's time to talk about foundation. Your foundation is what's gonna go over your color corrections. There are 4 main ways that I typically apply my foundation, and that is with a brush, a sponge, my hands, or an airbrush. I'm not gonna talk about the airbrush today because I find they're not as accessible, not as many people have them, they're very expensive. That can be a separate video at a later time if that's something that y'all are interested in. But today I'm gonna be talking about the foundation brush, the sponge, and our hands. We're gonna start off with the foundation brush. I have 3 different foundation brushes here. I use them all for completely different purposes. I prefer this one for face paint. I like this one for face paint. I like this one a lot for foundation. This one here is very, very, very dense. It's really good for buffing product in. This one is more like a paintbrush. It's also highly dense. Foundation brushes should be dense. This one is a stipple brush. This one is done by stippling. For the sake of showing you the coverage that you get with each of these, I am not going to be color correcting any of these beforehand, just so you can get an understanding of the pros and cons of each of these methods. For a long time, the foundation brush was my preferred method of foundation application. First of all, it gets you the most control and the most coverage. You're going to get a very concentrated application, and this works with every foundation type, every formula, every skin type. You're also going to get a higher coverage with significantly less product. The cons of a foundation brush is that they can be streaky if you use the wrong kind of brush, or if you're using it improperly. Again, this one is meant to be buffed into the skin, whereas this one here can get a little bit streaky at times. Do you see that? And then with the stipple brush, it's gonna take a lot longer, but you don't want to streak it downward because then you're gonna get streaky. This is a motion called stippling. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of coverage. It's going a very long way with very minimal product. I'm gonna stop here because my skin is going to hate me, but as you can see, very high coverage. I haven't done concealer, I haven't done powder yet. This is all just with the foundation brush. All right, time for round 2. Now we're gonna talk about the beauty sponge. First of all, make sure that you get a good beauty sponge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a beauty blender. I know they're very expensive. I like the Real Techniques sponges. This is a Real Techniques. This in about 2018 was my preferred foundation application. Now, what you wanna do first is make sure that you run it under water and squeeze out the excess. You want your sponge to be damp. It's also important that you don't just dip your sponge right into the foundation because it will just absorb it. The way that I used to do it is I would just put some on with my finger first, make sure your hands are clean, sort of get it started on spreading out, and then you go in with your sponge after that and you dab it in like this. Make sure that you're pressing with your sponge, and you don't have to slap your face like this. You can just be real gentle, real cute, very demure, very mindful. The beauty sponge works well with liquid, cream, and pressed powder formulas. It's going to create a diffused airbrushed sort of blend, as you can see. There are lots of different shapes that are meant for working around different parts of your face. For example, these pointy parts are meant to go around your nose and around like the lips. It's pointed for more precision. And it also has a buildable coverage. It's going to be sort of sheer to begin with, but if this isn't enough, you can keep building it up. But this is the sort of coverage you can expect from your sponge. Obviously, it's not blended into my forehead, ignore that. It's airbrushed, it's diffused, it's very natural looking. Now, the cons of the beauty sponge. Being a sponge, they are absorbent, so they will absorb a lot of your product, but they will also absorb a lot of bacteria. So if you're gonna use a sponge, you have to be prepared to replace them frequently and also clean them properly and clean them every time you use them. Once again, it's not just the makeup that's getting trapped in there, it's whatever's on your skin to begin with, it's the water that you run it under. So make sure you watch a lot of videos on how to clean them properly, make sure you clean and dry them properly between each use. This can hold a lot of bacteria, a lot of mold. I don't know if you guys have seen videos on it, it's very disturbing what can be growing in your sponge. So make sure that you are taking really good care of your beauty sponge, replacing it often, take care of your skin. And then last up for our beauty tools for today, we're gonna be talking about using our hands. Make sure they are clean. What you're literally gonna do is just dot this all around your face and we're just gonna rub it in the way we do lotion every single morning, every single night. The warmth from your hands will help to melt the product into your skin. You're gonna get the most natural skin-like finish by using your hands. This is going to be your fastest application. This right here is my current daily application technique. I've been using my hands every day with my tinted moisturizer. It just creates a very, very, very natural, your skin but better finish. The cons of using your hands is that it's really easy to spread dirt and bacteria, and this is why it's important to wash your hands before you put your makeup on, because this becomes a breeding ground for acne and you don't want that. Thank you so much for watching the very first episode of Cosplay Cosmetology. I'm still so excited about the fact that this series is finally happening. I've been working on this since I was a cosmetology student in 2022, and seeing it finally become a thing is just so surreal. In the past, I've done 2 panels for it. I did Colossal Con 2023 and Colossal Con 2024, but being a video series, it's gonna be so much more accessible and easier for those of us who cannot travel. So I'm really excited about the creation of this video series. If you wish to help this channel evolve, make sure to check out my Ko-Fi, however it's pronounced, it's linked below. I'm currently fundraising for this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.